college football Saturday, week number 11. The Waterboys college football pregame show, part of Washed Up Sports. Good morning. This is Aaron, one of three of the Waterboys from the Waterboys college football pregame show. But we're doing it solo today. It's just me. The boys are all out of town. Big things going. Our boy Steve, if those who don't know, plays bass for Black Sun Cherries, and he's out on the road. Strez is doing some stuff with youth group. So you just got me this morning. And if you say, Aaron, can you host a show all by yourself? I can. But I don't have to this morning, because if you are in the comments or you are in the chat, you are going to be the co-host this morning for the Waterboys college football pregame show, week number... Are we at week 11 or week 10? Week 11. My gosh. It does not seem possible that this could already be week 10 or week 11. So this morning, you are going to be the co-host for the show. We're going to get the chat up on the screen this morning. We want to hear from you during the show. Hot takes as we get into picking games, storylines. We're going to make you a part of the show. So please drop your comments. Let us know, or let me know. I'm used to saying us, but it's just me this morning. So once again, welcome to the Waterboys college football show, brought to you by Better. That's right. If you haven't yet, do me a favor, go download the Better app. That's BETR Better. Don't mess around with those other apps. They got a lot of messy menus, a lot of things that are super confusing. Better is the first real micro play app, so instead of waiting for the whole game, you can lock in a play on every drive, every pitch, every moment. Live it, play it, better it. Download Better now and use code WASHED for a special promo. You get $10 up to $200 in bonus on your first deposit, so make sure that you do that today. In fact, just download it right now. Unless you're watching this and you're on your phone, please don't do that. A lot of things happening. It's a big week for college football. We're calling it a make or break Saturday. A make or break Saturday, because there are a lot of teams that this is going to really decide if they're staying in the college football playoff hunt, if they have what it takes to make a run in the college football playoff. And we've got some teams that could be set up for some trap games this week, so we're going to get all into that. First thing this morning, I am going to run through really quick the games that we are going to be picking in the second hour of the show. This is one of those weeks where there's a lot of games that we could have picked, but there are some really super interesting games this weekend. We picked some ranked things, some stuff that maybe isn't ranked, but it still has some national college football playoff implications. Definitely the biggest game today on the, in my opinion, the biggest game on the schedule today. Number 9, BYU, at number 10, Texas Tech. Two of who I believe are two of the better teams in the Big 12. But the Big 12 this season, we've talked about it on the college football show for a while. The Big 12 this year it's really hard to pick. The Big 12 is incredibly hard to pick. Going into the season, a lot of people had Arizona State. Now, obviously, there's been some injuries, some things at Arizona State that maybe have derailed their season a little bit. And then, you have teams that just got into the Big 12 in the last couple of years, so there's a little bit harder maybe to pick some of those games. Then everybody had their eyes on Colorado this season. Deion Sanders, primetime up in Boulder. What could Colorado do this year? I say all that to say, going into this year in the Big 12, a little bit of a mystery of who the best teams are. And then Texas Tech went out and spent a lot of money. Texas Tech went out and spent a crap ton of money, and they have positioned themselves very well to be in the college football playoff. They have positioned themselves very well to make a college football playoff run. Now, the rankings for the college football playoff dropped on Tuesday. And some people liked them, some people didn't. The top three pretty much stayed the same. It wasn't crazy. And we're going to get into that this morning as well. Second game that we're going to be talking about today, Texas A&M at number 19, Missouri. Texas A&M ranked 3 in the college football playoff. They've got to go to Missouri. Missouri has been a team this year that has really brought a lot of offensive firepower. They've got one of the best running backs in the entire country. They've got a really good quarterback, and they've got a coach that looks like he's having a ton of fun coaching college football. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup with number 3 Texas A&M. I think this is one of the best Texas A&M teams we have seen in a long time. They have got a dude at quarterback. Marcel Reed, no other way to say it than Marcel Reed at Texas A&M is just a dude. That guy is good at the football. So we'll be talking number 3 Texas A&M at number 19 Missouri today. Also number 6 Oregon at Iowa. Oregon, coming into the year, we thought Oregon would be good again. I think they have one of the best college football coaches in the country in Dan Lanning. Obviously, they did what a lot of teams did and front-loaded a lot of revenue, NIL, to the beginning of their season because we got the new rev share model that's coming in. So Oregon plays at 2:30 today at Iowa. That game is going to be very interesting. Kinnick Stadium, 2:30 p.m. Central. That game is going to be very interesting. We're going to break that one down and talk about it this morning. And then the last game that we're going to be talking about, LSU at Alabama. Now, obviously, LSU a little bit in shambles as a program. Not terrible. It's not like one of these, it's a complete rebuild type of situations, but they did just fire their coach. What does that mean for this game? This is a rivalry game, and there's something that happens in rivalry games where you could just throw out the rankings because rivalry games can get weird. If it's your very first time tuning into the show, I am an Oklahoma Sooners fan. It has never mattered what the rankings were for the most part when it comes to Oklahoma, Texas. You throw the rankings out. Florida, Georgia, you throw the rankings out. Do you just throw the rankings out when it comes to LSU at Alabama? You're asking an LSU team who's got an interim coach, which we're going to talk about that a little bit here. You got LSU with an interim coach going into Tuscaloosa. Alabama fans at the beginning of the season, after the Florida State loss, were ready to fire Kellen DeBoer. They were ready to be done with Kellen DeBoer. He's not Nick Saban. We need something else. And things have changed. Things have changed. Alabama is quickly becoming one of my favorites to make a deep run in the college football playoff. I don't know what that means. Am I saying Alabama's got what it takes to win a national championship? I don't know. But Alabama has figured it out. Ty Simpson might be the best quarterback in the SEC. He might be the best quarterback in the country. Who knows? But whatever Alabama's problems were towards the end of last season, the beginning of this season, Alabama has got it figured out. And one of the best things for Alabama is no one's talking about Alabama the way we used to talk about Alabama. I mean, we all lived through the Nick Saban era of college football. Going into the season, you just knew Alabama's going to be there. No one thought that after week 1 when you just get absolutely thumped by Florida State. But then they've gone on a run here. They've beat Georgia. They've beat Vanderbilt. They've beat Missouri. They've beat Tennessee. They've beat South Carolina. And then they are playing LSU today. Tigers coming to Tuscaloosa. So we're going to talk about that game this morning. We are calling this a make or break week because there are some teams who I think their college football playoff hopes could be over today. Today could be the end of their college football playoffs. Strez, shout out to one of the Waterboys in the chat. Is LSU upsetting Alabama today? Probably not. I don't know. I went back and forth on this. Used to mean in college football, if you fired your coach, like your season was over. But UCLA has proved that to not be the case. One of the big things we're going to talk about first thing this morning, we're going to try to go for 2 hours today. Who knows? It'll just all depend on how much caffeine I've got, which I have coffee and I have an energy drink. So I guess we'll find out. Something very interesting happened this week. I am a Josh Pate fan. I love Josh Pate. I think what Josh Pate does when it comes to college football is one of the best in the business. But sometimes you wonder if somebody like Josh Pate just does things to try to make all of us scratch our head. And he did that this week when he sat down with the Bussin' with the Boys for their college football show. And he dropped this bomb right here.
Let's just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC.
See you next week.
Josh Pate, one more time in case you missed it. One more time in case you missed it.
Let's just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC.
See you next week.
Let's just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC, said Josh Pate when he sat down with the Bussin' with the Boys guys. What does that mean? What does that mean, Josh Pate? Obviously, the coaching carousel has gotten really, really interesting. I think we've got 12, 13 big-time Division I college football coaching jobs that are open for business. Teams that are looking for new coaches. But what made this really interesting is, like when James Franklin was let go at Penn State, everyone, including some Nebraska fans who I personally know, said, man, we're probably going to lose Matt Rule. He's got Penn State ties. He's kind of a Penn State guy. You know, alma mater, that type of thing. We're going to lose Matt Rule to Penn State. And then Nebraska locks up Matt Rule. So scratch Matt Rule off the board. Kirk Cignetti up at Indiana. Well, he would want to leave Indiana for sure. Like, obviously, if you're Kirk Cignetti, you want to leave Indiana, right? No. Indiana locks up Kirk Cignetti. And things got interesting. Then Auburn opened up. LSU opened up. Virginia Tech opened up. Oklahoma State's been open. We've got a lot of schools. UCLA opened up. The college football coaching carousel has gotten very, very interesting. And according to Josh Pate, there are rumors from people he says are in the know at USC that understand Lincoln Riley, that are close to Lincoln Riley, that there is rumblings of Lincoln Riley and USC. Hypothetical only. Why would Lincoln Riley want to leave USC? What in the world would make Lincoln Riley want to leave Southern California? So I asked myself that question. Let me remind you of who Lincoln Riley is as a coach. Because sometimes I think when a coach kind of has some weird things that happen, maybe he gets to a place and it doesn't work out immediately. Things don't just he doesn't just hit the ground running. Maybe sometimes we forget who college football coaches are. So let me remind you a little bit of who Lincoln Riley is. At Oklahoma from 2017 to 2021, overall record 55-10. Big 12 record, 37-3, bowl record 1-3, highest winning percentage in history of Oklahoma coaches. That is rare company to be in. This is the same school that has Barry Switzer and Bob Stoops, and Lincoln Riley is the highest winning percentage coach in the history of Oklahoma football. He coached 2 Heisman Trophy winners, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. Went to the college football playoff 3 times, won 6 straight Big 12 championships as a part of the staff at Oklahoma. That is who Lincoln Riley is. Then he goes to USC in 2022 in one of the most wild moves in the history of college football coaching. Bob Stoops gift wraps a program to Lincoln Riley. He's there as an offensive coordinator. He just gives Lincoln Riley the reins to a college football blue blood in great shape. Baker Mayfield's a quarterback. Kyler Murray's there. He's going to have Jalen Hurts that comes in. He's got recruiting Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is going to come to Oklahoma. They've had Spencer Rattler. And Lincoln Riley says, no, I want to go to Southern California. Then he coaches from 2022 till the present. His overall record, 26-14, 2-1 bowl record. Caleb Williams wins a Heisman. He broke 6 USC records in 2022, including most passing yards in a single season. Caleb Williams threw for almost 4,700 yards. 2023, they win the Holiday Bowl. They win the Las Vegas Bowl in 2024. Led the team to an 11-3 record and an appearance in the Pac-12 championship in just his very first season at USC. So why would Josh Payton say to pay attention to Lincoln Riley at USC? Well, if there was any coach in the country that was going to leave what could be considered a college football blue blood for another job, it would be Lincoln Riley. If history was to repeat itself, Lincoln Riley has no problems leaving a school to go somewhere else. It does not bother him at all to do that. So that's why, reason number one, if you're Lincoln Riley, maybe you look around the college football landscape and you say, hey, there might be some better jobs out there. There could be some better jobs out there. I don't think so, but I don't think that anybody thought Lincoln Riley would leave Oklahoma to go to USC. Reason number two that I could see Josh Payton saying, hey, need to watch Lincoln Riley at USC with all these college football coaching openings. If you are the head coach at USC, you are not the only game in town. This is not Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is not Norman, Oklahoma. This is not Columbus, Ohio. This is not Georgia. If you're the head coach of the USC Trojans, there are 10 pro teams in town where you coach. 10 major league sports in the same city as USC. If you're saying, what does that have to do with anything? It is incredibly hard to win at schools that have dominant pro brands in the same city. It is incredibly hard to do. Look at Georgia Tech this year. Georgia Tech is really, really good. When is the last time Georgia Tech was good? I'll wait. And some of that, for whatever reason, if you are a college football program in a big-time pro market, it is sometimes really hard to be successful. It's just the way that it is. I live in Oklahoma City. One of the worst things for Oklahoma Sooner men's basketball, from an attendance standpoint, from an attention standpoint, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you're a mom or you're a dad and you're going to take the kids to a game, are you going to decide that you're going to take them to an Oklahoma Sooners basketball game on Saturday? Or are you going to go to an Oklahoma City Thunder game? If you're a dad and you want to take your kids to a football game this weekend and you live in Southern California, are you going to choose to take them to a USC game or NFL game? That is some of the struggles that happens when you are a college football coach in a pro market. Now, when Pete Carroll was at USC, they were basically the biggest thing in town. But even in Lincoln Riley's tenure so far at USC, there have been games where attendance not good. Attendance not good. UCLA, same problem. Some of the pictures that came out during the last couple of years at UCLA, you were just like, this is sad. This is sad. Do I think that matters to Lincoln Riley? I don't know. But according to Josh Pate, we need to keep our eyes on Lincoln Riley at USC with all of these coaching jobs. If this was any other coach, if this was not Lincoln Riley, I would say no chance. Why would Lincoln Riley want to leave USC? But this is not the first time that Lincoln Riley would have done something like this or be in this type of situation. Lincoln Riley is a grass is greener coach. Lincoln Riley is the epitome of bright, shiny new thing. You leave Norman, Oklahoma. I get it. Southern California weather. I get it. But if you just strictly from a coaching move, the move from Norman, Oklahoma to Southern California makes no sense. The cupboard was very stocked at Oklahoma. He decided to go out to USC. Do I think that means he would make a change and leave USC to go coach somewhere else? I don't know, but I trust Josh Pate. And if Josh Pate is saying, hey, I don't know what's going on, I'm not saying that I've got concrete news on anything, but all I'm saying is watch Lincoln Riley at USC. I pay attention to that. So that's one of the things on the college football coaching carousel. Also on the college football coaching carousel today, there's a couple of teams who have got they've got what do you want to call it? Pulse checks this week. We've got some interim coaches who are going to be I don't know if you're coaching for jobs, but potentially you could be. LSU, they've got a guy coaching that a lot of players seem to like. What does that mean for games for the rest of the year? It can mean a couple of things. You can look at it a couple of different ways if you've got an interim coach. You've got players that are going to be playing for the next spot. It's kind of like NFL guys on a contract year. You've probably got guys at LSU right now that are already looking at where they're going to play next, and they need to put some good film together for the next school that they want to transfer to. That can mean that can be good. That's not always bad. We've seen UCLA all of a sudden be able to rip off a streak of wins right after firing their coach, and nothing really changes at all. I mean, nothing necessarily changes at UCLA. But you got guys playing, maybe it's hey guys, let's band together, that whole like win one for coach type of thing. Maybe there's also the, hey, I'm going to go to my next place. I need to make sure to put myself in the best position. So that could make things very, very interesting. Penn State's got an interim coach. LSU's got an interim coach. Arkansas's got an interim coach. Auburn's got an interim coach. Are any of those coaches probably going to keep those jobs? I don't know. The only one that maybe would make sense is Arkansas. I think Arkansas wanted to give Bobby Petrino that job the second they brought him on as a coordinator. I think Arkansas's athletic director and the athletic department was like, hey, Sam Pittman thing goes south. Good, we got Bobby Petrino. I don't know that Arkansas should keep. I don't know if I feel that way about it, but hey, who knows? Who knows? In the chat, Peter the Great. Arch looked a lot better last week versus a top 10 team. He did look a lot better. I saw some stuff about Arch Manning over the weekend. People saying he's nowhere near pro ready. I think that's maybe the most obvious thing that has been said the entire season. But yeah, Texas last week, Vanderbilt comes to town. Arch Manning, 25 for 33, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns. Matches up against Diego Pavia, 27 to 38, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, a lot of that stuff was second half because the first half of the Texas Vanderbilt game wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Now, Texas takes their foot off the gas a little bit. Vanderbilt makes a game out of it, 31-34. I watched the second half of that game. Even when Vanderbilt was making their run, I don't know that I felt like the game was ever like not being controlled by Texas. I don't know that I watched that game. I don't know that the whole time, I don't know if at any point I thought, oh, Texas didn't have this one in the bag. So Arch does look a lot better. I would hope after 3 years in the program and 10 weeks as a starter, he would look better. I still don't think, and this is just a personal opinion, I still do not think Arch Manning is the best answer for Texas if they want success this year or next year. I just don't. I don't think he's played in enough big-time football games. If you're Texas and you want to make a deep playoff run, I don't know that Arch is the guy. But you have to play him. You don't have a choice. Like, if you're Sark, what are your options? You're going to sit a kid named Manning that's, like, got that many NIL dollars and he's bringing that much money into the program. You're going to sit him? No, you can't. You can't. Even if stuff starts to go south, you can't. This isn't college football 10 years ago. This is not best player will play college football. This is just not. And especially with a lot of the rumors about, Sark to the NFL. I mean, if you're Sark, you just go, I got to play this kid no matter what. How many Manning jerseys we're selling? You know how much money this kid's bringing into the program? Do you know how many NIL dollars are committed to Arch Manning? We can't just say, hey, you suck. You got to sit down. So by week 10, Arch Manning finally, against a good opponent, looks like a starting quarterback. I still don't think he's good enough to play at Texas. I still think Texas can do better. No, he has to come back next year. He would not be drafted high. Yeah, he wouldn't be drafted high. I was going to say, but his name is Manning. Some team is going to, I don't know. If you're a team, do you want to do that? Look what the Browns are doing with Shedeur. It's not always fun to have a Nepo baby on your team. And I don't mean Nepo baby in a bad thing. But sometimes it's not always as fun as it could be. All right. Let's get into some games. Let's talk about some of the big games. Let us make sure that you weigh in the chat as we go through these games. If you've got thoughts on some of them, we want to hear about it. Kicking off this morning, 11 a.m. This is just a shame. Why are we playing this game 11 a.m.? 11 a.m. Central. Number 5, Georgia, Starkville, Mississippi State. Battle of the Bulldogs. This is not your mama's Mississippi State. I think we've all figured that out this year. 2 things that we have learned about the SEC Conference. This is not your mama's Mississippi State. This is not your mama's Vanderbilt. Mississippi State can score points. Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby, second year in the program, was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma 2 seasons ago. They got he's got something figured out. I like that against Mississippi State. You got to buckle up the chin strap. That you don't just go, hey, we're going down to Starkville. Guys, don't sweat it. No starters playing after halftime. That doesn't happen anymore. Not since Jeff Lebby has gotten there. They have been just a couple of plays away from being 8-3. They're just a couple plays away from a really impressive record. They are 5-4 this year. They beat Arizona State at the very beginning of the year by 4, which is kind of what said, hey, hold on a second, Mississippi State, what's going on in Starkville? Then they play Tennessee very, very close. They lose to Tennessee 41-34, really close game. Now they get beat by Texas A&M 31-9, and then have a really rough showing against Florida. They lose by 2 to Florida. They play Texas really, really close in a game that was over. At one point, I remember thinking, this is going to be so much fun, but Texas is about to lose to Mississippi State. They didn't, but man, they played really, really well in that game. Then they went to Arkansas. They beat Arkansas by 3. So Mississippi State has got several scores this college football season that a couple of plays go one way or the other. All of a sudden, Mississippi State is 8-3, and this is a very different conversation. But as of right now, they are not. But they could still score a ton of points, and that's the one thing that we've got to pay attention to at Mississippi State. They've got a quarterback that they really, really like, Blake Shapen, 24 years old, seasoned quarterback out of Shreveport, Louisiana. His completion percentage this year so far, 65%, 21, almost 2,200 passing yards, averaging 8.4, 15 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Now, that's the one thing with Mississippi State is they're going to have to limit the mistakes this weekend because Georgia is a team that they don't need you to help them beat you. But they are a team that if you make some mistakes, they can 100% capitalize on it. Georgia is Georgia again this year. They're ranked number 5 in the country. They're 7-1. They're a team poised to make a deep college football playoff run. They've had some big wins this year. Beat Tennessee by 3. Now, they did lose to Alabama. They kicked the ever-loving dog crap out of Kentucky. They beat Auburn. And they've beat Ole Miss. So, Georgia, although maybe not as dominant, there isn't really a team I have not seen a team in the SEC that I look at and just say dominant. I haven't seen one. The SEC, this is the season of everybody in the SEC just beats up on each other. So that game could get very, very interesting. We're going to pick that game here in just a little bit. What I think is the biggest game of the day, 2:30 p.m. kick. This should be a late game. I don't like that this game is 2:30 p.m. Central. But number 9, BYU at number 10, Texas Tech. This is, to me... Oh, no, hold on. This is an 11 a.m. kick. Yeah, why? Somebody messed up on this. 11 a.m. kick. I saw pictures down at Lubbock. There are students that have been camped out since like Wednesday for this game. Early game, 11 a.m. Texas Tech. In case you've been living under a rock, the Texas Tech of like 10, 15 years ago that just throws the ball all over the field, scores tons and tons of points, they're back. But this Texas Tech team has got a running game too. Texas Tech can score in bunches. This started a little bit last season, but they can score in bunches. Some of the numbers that they've put up this year, 67, 62, 45, 34, 35, 42. Twice. 43. Now, they only put up 22 in a loss to Arizona State in October. And they have beat up on some bad teams. They put up 42 on Kansas. They put up 42 on Oklahoma State. But they put up 35 on Houston, a decent Houston team. They put up 34 on Utah, a good Utah team. So Texas Tech, very, very interesting. But BYU, incredibly consistent this year. Ranked number 8. They are 8-0 on the season, have not lost a game. And they can also put up points. They put up, they put up 38 on West Virginia, 33 on Arizona. They put up 41 on Iowa State. They have had some games where teams could slow them down a little bit. The Holy War, they only won by 3, 24-21 against Utah. They beat Colorado, but only by 3 to a bad Colorado team. So these two teams are incredibly evenly matched. What one team does well, the other team does well at, I guess, checking would probably be the best way to say it. Both these programs are being overlooked nationally probably a little bit. The Big 12 not getting a lot of credit. The Big 12 still known probably as the conference that Oklahoma and Texas left. The Big 12 kind of looking for an identity, but we here at the Waterboys have several times said we think that the Big 12 is the most fun conference to watch in college football. I stand by that statement. I do. I think the Big 12 is the funnest conference to watch in college football. This one comes down today to BYU's physicality versus Texas Tech's speed and creativity. And this is a chance for the Big 12 to show it's deeper than just the last place Oklahoma and Texas left. BYU wins in the trenches. If they can control the line, Tech's tempo gets neutralized. But if Tech's able to push the pace, a lot of no huddle, a lot of creativity on offense. If they're able to get it going, this one could be very, very interesting. Number 9, BYU at number 10, Texas. Second game that we're highlighting of the day. Number 3, Texas A&M, and number 19, Missouri. Number 3, Texas A&M at number 19, Missouri. This is an interesting one to me. Texas A&M, as far as the college football playoff rankings go, at number 3, they are 8-0. Let me know in the chat, how do you feel about Texas Tech? Or Texas A&M, I should say. How do you feel, as a college football fan, how do you feel about Texas A&M? Do you believe in Texas A&M? This is not, we were making jokes at the beginning of the season. Hey, Texas A&M pretty good, but when does Texas A&M become the perennial 8-4 team that they always are? Well, it hadn't happened. And it's not going to happen. They're 8-0. They got to go to Missouri today, a 6-2 Missouri team, a very good 6-2 Missouri team. Texas A&M has the one thing, though, that I think sets them apart when it comes to Missouri. Marcel Reed, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I guarantee you their NFL scouts right now licking their chops for Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed makes watching college football really, really fun. That guy, absolutely electric on a college football field. 6'1" sophomore out of Nashville. Thrown for almost 2,000 yards this season. 61% completion, 7 touchdowns. Now, he does have 6 interceptions. But what Texas A&M does have with Marcel Reed is the threat of the long ball. In fact, his longest one this year, 86 yards. And he can run a little bit too. Mobile quarterback, tough to keep contained. If he gets out, he's not just making plays with his feet, but he can make plays on the run. So if you're Missouri, this one comes down to one thing to me. You're going to have to win on third down if you're Missouri. Texas A&M has a very solid defense. Texas A&M, a very complete team this season. Obviously, they're 8-0, and they have limited some teams that have offensive firepower to low points this season. They held Mississippi State to 9. We just got done talking about Mississippi State, how many yards, how many points they've been able to put up on people. Texas A&M held them to 9. They held Florida to 17. They held LSU to 25. That could, that LSU can't figure out offense. It's rough. Now they did give up 42 to Arkansas. I think Arkansas's got a really good defense or a really good offense, but it's really going to come down today to Missouri gets a chance to prove, hey, we've lost a game that we shouldn't have lost maybe, but we are a college football playoff contender. This is Mizzou's gritty offense versus high-powered offense at A&M. Mizzou, great ground game. They can pound you, and then break off a run for 40. That's kind of Missouri. I think they've got maybe. I don't know. Am I going to say? Am I prepared to say that Missouri? Am I prepared to say that Missouri has the second best running back in the entire country? Am I prepared to say that? I don't know. I mean, it's. Listen, Missouri's got a running game that's really, really good. I think they have an NFL caliber running back. I don't know if I want to say. I don't want to put bad juju on a guy. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to. It's hard not to say that Ahmad Hardy is maybe the second best running back next to Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. I mean, guys, a little bit less than 70 yards away from a 1,000-yard rushing season this year at Missouri already. 159 carries, 11 touchdowns. And he's on pace to do a lot better than he did last year. Last year, he had 237 carries for 1,300 yards for 13 touchdowns. This year, 159 carries, almost 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. So not only has the Missouri running game gotten better, but it's gotten more productive. He's done almost 1,000 yards on less than 200 carries. So this one is going to come down to if Missouri wants to win this game, they're going to have to control the pace. You're going to have to make Texas A&M play at your speed, and you're going to have to do what you do well, which is keep the ball on the ground and be okay with 4 or 5 yards in a cloud of dust. You're going to have to do that because there are some teams that have just said, hey, we'll go out there and just try to outscore Texas A&M, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't. Notre Dame tried it early September, didn't work there. Arkansas tried it, didn't work there. Florida couldn't do it. Auburn couldn't do it. So it's going to come down to Texas A&M and Missouri. Can Missouri control the pace of play? Can Missouri win on third down? Can they keep drives alive? Can they keep the offense off the field? That's your best bet if you're Missouri to win this football game. Number 6, Oregon at Iowa. This game's very interesting. I was talking to one of the guys last night. I like this game. I like the Oregon Ducks going to Kinnick Stadium at Iowa. Iowa's 6-2. I think Iowa's a very good 6-2 team. And in case you didn't see it this year, Iowa can, they play offensive football now. They actually pass the ball down the field. New thing at Iowa. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, used to be Iowa, if you played Iowa, it was like, oh, this is going to be one of the most boring football games you can watch. Not so at Iowa. They actually put up points. They only lost to Indiana by 5. And they were in that football game. They put up 37 on Wisconsin in a shutout. What do we think of Iowa? I don't know. They put up 41 on Minnesota, a Minnesota team that went into Nebraska and won. I don't know. Does Iowa cover or potentially win? Listen, I'm trying really hard this morning to not talk myself into Iowa. I'm going to be completely honest. If you're a college football fan, I'm doing my very best to not try to talk myself into Iowa today. I don't know what it is about this game. I don't know what it is about this matchup. There's something here that I find very interesting. Oregon, let's not kid ourselves. Oregon is a very good football team. Oregon is one of the best football teams in the country, 7-1. And they, when you want to talk about can score in bunches, Oregon can do that. They've put up 56 on somebody this year, 34 on somebody, 69, 59. Now, some of these not against great teams. They put up 41 against Oregon State. They put up 20 against Indiana in a loss. But there's just something about this Iowa matchup that has got me incredibly intrigued. I don't want to pick Iowa. Full disclosure, I don't want to pick Iowa. I'm just saying, I thought about it all day yesterday. I've been thinking about it since I got up this morning and brewed the first cup of coffee. Why not Iowa? Why not Iowa? Iowa for the upset today says dry Vero well. Zach Monday, weather game. Zach? Oh, what is the weather in Iowa today? What is the weather in Iowa? Listen, there's a difference between football in October and August. There's a difference between August, September, October weather and November weather when it comes to college football. There are two different types of football. And there are teams that are made to play in the crappy weather, and there are teams that are not. And I don't know if Oregon is one of those teams made to play in crappy weather. I'm not saying they can't. If you're an Oregon fan and you're in the show, I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying that's part of the country. It gets cold. Weather in Iowa today. We're looking at it right here. It's going to be cold. It is going to be a cold, nasty, wet day in Iowa today. Woo! Ah! All right. Zach Mundy might be right. Does the weather affect this game? Iowa at Oregon at Iowa. It might. I'm trying not to talk myself into Iowa, but boy, it's getting hard not to. As a Georgia fan, I think we hammer the over, but State covers. Thoughts? Oh, man. Something about... Take out my nicotine here. Something about Mississippi State's just different this year. I'm not saying that Mississippi State is like going to go in there and beat Georgia. That's not what I'm saying, but Stark Vegas... on a Saturday, big-time game. First game of the day. I'm going to pick these games here in just a few minutes, but you might be right. Something could happen. Something could be interesting where this game gets close. And weird things can happen when a game gets close. A game gets close like a Georgia and a Mississippi State. It just takes somebody making a mistake. And I kind of feel the same way about this next one. This is the other game that we're going to be picking today. Throw out the rankings, fellas and ladies. Throw out the rankings. It's LSU, Alabama. I know. I get it. LSU doesn't have a coach. They got an interim coach right now. I know. I get it. That's typical conventional wisdom would say team that just lost their coach, not good. We've seen weirder things this season. Look at UCLA. UCLA gets rid of their coach, and then all of a sudden Magic things happen at UCLA. Am I saying that that can happen at LSU? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm also saying LSU, we've been waiting for the same thing to happen all season long. The offense to start like working again. It just hasn't happened this season yet. We have not seen the LSU offense crank up and get started this season. It's been very, very inconsistent. That is the best way to describe the LSU offense this season. Incredibly inconsistent. Also, the Weeks boy that's dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. Maybe not a good decision because things have not gone well for Whit Weeks since dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. Not saying that that's like I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Look at Carson Beck. Some guys maybe you wait till you get out of college before you get in a good relationship. I don't know. I'm 40 years old and married. What am I talking about? I'm just saying. Okay, that's enough of that. I don't want it to get weird. LSU at Alabama, Tuscaloosa, 6:30 p.m. Central kick. The preseason Heisman favorite in Garrett Nussmeier, Trey Ledbetter. Trey, I'm 2 games. I'm trying not to talk myself into upsets today. Iowa, Oregon, and LSU at Alabama. Shout out to Trey Ledbetter. If you're down there in Baton Rouge, go by and see Trey. Trey, drop the name of the business down there so we can anybody that's in Baton Rouge, we can send them that way. Preseason Heisman favorite Garrett Nussmeier goes up against a guy that no one saw coming. No one saw this coming. No one saw Ty Simpson coming. Unless you are a college football nut like I am, who pays attention way too much, which sometimes can be a bad thing, especially when you're picking games. Like today, I'm trying to talk myself out of 2 upsets today. You know what I'm saying? Andy Meyer, Pro Dreams. Go see Trey at Pro Dreams. Do me a favor. If you're an LSU fan, or if you're just like a sports fan in general, that you trust me. Just trust me, will you? It's just a stylistic matchup, in my opinion. LSU has, let's get this up here on the screen. LSU has no run game, and that's Bama's only weakness defensively. LSU doesn't get any pressure or sacks. They'll play better, but not happening. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Look at the LSU defense at the beginning of the season. Look at the LSU defense at the beginning of the season. We were in Baton Rouge for a couple of weekends this season with our tailgate takeover. In fact, we were at Pro Dreams. The LSU defense that we saw at the beginning of the season, if that LSU defense shows up against Alabama, it'll be one of the fastest, most athletic defenses that Alabama will face this year. Now, what happened the last time that Alabama faced an athletic, hard-hitting, in-your-face defense? Looking at their schedule, they beat Georgia by 3. Is LSU's defense better than Georgia? I'm not saying that. I'm saying at the beginning of the season when we were watching LSU, that defense was one of the best defenses in the country. It was like a night and day difference between LSU defenses the last 4 or 5 years, and then it was like the swagger was back at LSU on the defensive side. LSU is a team and a program. Yes, they've had 2 Heisman Trophy winners. They've had maybe the greatest college football offense ever to play there. But LSU is a program that it just feels right when they're good on defense. The same thing with my Oklahoma Sooners. It feels right when teams like Oklahoma, LSU, Georgia, when they are humming on defense, it sets a trend for their offense. That is what LSU's got to do today. LSU's going to have to come out and punch Alabama in the face punch them in the face at the beginning of the game. They're going to have to get a ton of pressure on Ty Simpson. It's going to be loud, but here's the deal. This is the thing LSU has going on the road that maybe a lot of other teams don't have. In fact, I'm trying to think. Maybe Clemson, maybe Florida. There is no away atmosphere that's going to be nearly as wild and as loud as your home atmosphere is. Because you got to remember, LSU plays in two different stadiums when they're at home. They play in Death Valley at day and Death Valley at night. In fact, if you put together like a top 15 hardest places to play in college football, I think LSU during the day and LSU at night, I think those should be ranked separately. So if you're an away team, you're not going to be able to put an atmosphere together that's going to like shake LSU as a team. I mean, look at what they play in on a regular college football Saturday in Baton Rouge. So there's that to consider. I'm also looking at Alabama's schedule this year. Alabama, very good, but they have had some games that were close that maybe shouldn't have been. They beat South Carolina by a touchdown. South Carolina not good this year. Not good. They're just not good. No, let's just be honest. Can we be honest this morning? Can we be honest on a college football week 11 Saturday? South Carolina not good. Alabama only beats them by 7. Alabama beats Missouri by 3. Missouri, good football team. Not saying that. Second best running back in the entire country, in my opinion. But they only beat Missouri by 3. In fact, their most impressive win, they beat Georgia by 3. Their most impressive win for just this season alone. I'm not talking about but the Vanderbilt win was impressive. You put up 30 on Vanderbilt, hold Diego Pavia to 14. So, and this is not the Alabama team that lost to Florida State. So there's you gotta take that into consideration as well. Alabama has gotten better week over week this season. Alabama, most improved team in college football. Are we allowed to say that? Is that just wild to say that? This is not Nick Saban's Alabama, though. Remember, this is the same Alabama that, like, fans after week 2 were, fire Kellen DeBoer, fire him. He's not Nick Saban. He don't have it. I don't like him. I don't know if Trey's still in here. I hope that sounds like Alabama fans to me, though. Nick Saban wouldn't have put up with this stuff. That was Alabama fans at the beginning of the season. You know what you haven't heard from all season long? Alabama fans wanting to fire Kellen DeBoer. That guy's winning percentage is really good. Like, Kellen DeBoer is a fantastic football coach. He is. But that game today is just very, very interesting. LSU at number 4, Alabama. Okay. What are we in? Hour in. Time to start picking some games. Week 11, make or break. So here's how we're going to do this. If you're in the chat, I want to know who you're picking as we get into these games. Also, big shout out to the Waterboys, Steve and Strez. The boys sent in their picks, so we're going to be able to get their picks. In fact, Steve sent them into me via video. He's an overachiever. Steve just overachieving today, so we're going to be able to get his picks. And then I've also got Strez's picks as well. Andy Meyer, I think the South Carolina game is a little different being after that long stretch of ranked games, but still valid. I'm interested to see the interim bump LSU gets with Brian Kelly gone. That's the other thing right now that we're seeing. I like can we take the term interim bump? Can we take that term? Andy, are you okay with that? Like, interim bump. I like that term. I like the term interim bump. I think there are some teams that you get an interim bump. LSU is one. I think LSU is one of those teams. I think you have exercised your demons. If you're the LSU Tigers, you got rid of Brian Kelly, which, by the way, just wild. Not LSU fans. It is wild to me that not one person has come out to say one positive thing about Brian Kelly. In fact, Zach Martin, who played for Brian Kelly, Dallas Cowboys, Zach Martin, one of the nicest guys in the NFL, when asked about Brian Kelly, said, "We don't talk." There are some NFL guys that actually, they did come out and they were like, good riddance. So Brian Kelly, whatever was happening in Baton Rouge, it was bad. And we may never know just how bad. We may be years down the line and be like, man, Brian Kelly, POS. I don't like calling people that. That doesn't make me feel good. So if you're watching this morning with kids, don't tell them what that means. Okay, let's get into picking some games this morning. All right, what's our first one? Georgia at Mississippi State. Hold on here. Where's my thing? There we go. Number 5, Georgia at Mississippi State. Number 5, Georgia at Mississippi State. This is the first game that we are going to be picking this morning. Drop it right now in the chat. Who are you taking? Georgia at Mississippi State. In fact, let's go to one of our Waterboys. Let's go to the man, the myth, the legend, bass player for Blackstone Cherry, Steve Jewell. He is on the road this morning, so he cannot join us, but he did send in his picks. Let's see what Steve's doing.
What's up, guys? What's up, Waterboys Nation? Hope everybody's enjoying their Saturday morning of some more college football. It's slipping away from us shortly. But boy, do we have a good slate this week for week 11 on Saturday, November the 8th. So starting with my first pick for Georgia and Mississippi State. You know, I'm just kind of on this trend here lately where I want to fade Georgia, and I think I'm going to follow suit this week in this game. You know, almost every Georgia SEC game has followed the same script, right? It falls behind early, and then Kirby does this thing as the best in-game adjuster in the sport, which helps lead his team to a come-from-behind victory. To wit, you know, Georgia has outscored those 6 opponents 48-23 in the fourth quarter and overtime, almost a complete 180 to its first quarter differential there. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the calls Georgia has benefited from in the SEC play. Auburn, you know, should have led 17-0 if not for a botched touchdown call, followed by several other bogus penalties in that game for the Tigers, which led to the head official getting indefinitely suspended. We saw that, right? We saw the same thing last week against Florida with a pair of game-changing calls breaking Georgia's way. It easily could have lost both of those games in addition to overtime victory over the Tennessee Volunteers. You know, missed the game-winning field goal attempt at the end of regulation. They were also on the ropes against Ole Miss until, you know, late flurry. This is just not your older brother's Georgia Bulldogs team, especially on defense like we're used to seeing, right? And look no further than that matchup with Tennessee. You know, historically, Josh Heupel's offenses get completely stuffed into a locker room by Smart. Well, not this year. And Mississippi State runs a similar scheme under Jeff Levy. So Georgia's pass rush is almost non-existent, ranking outside the top 100 in both pressure rate and sack EPA. You know, I've never really thought that I'd see a Georgia defense that ranks third worst in the country in sack rate, which is crazy, ahead of only Air Force and Georgia Southern. You know, Mississippi State, they come into this game with 5 wins, but they could easily have 2 or 3 more, even with the top 15 strength of schedule. The Bulldogs have been highly competitive against every opponent except for a trip to College Station. You know, in a tough situational spot. Still, even that game was just 7-3 late in the third quarter. You know, they've lost 2 games in overtime to Tennessee, thanks to a defensive touchdown. And to Texas after holding fourth quarter leads. Plus, they threw just a crazy last-minute interception in field goal range in 2 spots, or a 2-spot loss at Florida. You know, this is a real SEC team that can play with any SEC team in the league. So I think it's just a good time to fade the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'm taking Mississippi State on the money line.
All right, so Steve, taking Mississippi State. I'm interesting. Drive arrow well. Got to go with Andy on this one. My dogs can pull out the win, but I think State has a great QB and wide receiver. Obviously, our DBs need some work, and I'm not sure this weekend on theirs, but the boys win by 7. Name is pronounced Driver. Oh, I was making that way more complicated than it needed to be. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and pick Georgia on this one, but I don't feel good about it. Pass rush for Georgia, not what it should be. And if you need anything to slow down the Mississippi State Bulldogs and Jeff Lebby's offense, is a good, solid pass rush. So can Georgia get enough pressure on the quarterback? Can, Mississippi State got a very seasoned guy at quarterback. He has thrown some more interceptions than you would like, but, they're obviously playing a lot of teams. Mississippi State, they shouldn't be this good year 2 of Jeff Lebby. To me, this is a overperforming year for Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State next 2 or 3 years could really be very interesting, be in the top half of the SEC or better. Steve's picking Mississippi State. Stresson in his picks, he's taking Georgia. I'm taking Georgia in a close one. Would not be shocked today if Georgia's kicking a field goal to win this game. If going into halftime we are tied, it's all going to come down to, can Georgia slow down Mississippi State? Can they get any sort of pass rush on Mississippi State? If they can't, and this thing turns into a boat race, things could get very interesting, especially in Starkville. So that's our first game of the day that we're picking, Georgia at Mississippi State. Second game that we're picking this morning, my favorite game of the day, BYU at Texas Tech. BYU at Texas Tech. Drop in the comments who you're taking. BYU at Texas Tech. Let's see who our boy Steve's taking.
Next up on the slate, I'm looking at BYU and the Texas Tech game. Some information about this one. The BYU defense will be prepared to stop Texas Tech's inside zone read concepts, led by running backs Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams. Texas Tech has been poor on the O-line, leaving both Williams and Dickey to produce a minimum of 3.5 yards after first contact. BYU's defense ranks mid-FBS in broken and missed tackles allowed, indicating that most rushing attempts will be boom or bust. Texas Tech will also want to avoid passing downs against the Cougars' cover 1 and cover 3 secondary looks, that's for sure. The biggest handicap, though, in the game is going to be Bachmeier's legs against Texas Tech's defense. BYU, they solemnly pretty much rely on zone read concepts, with outside zone being the more explosive. Texas Tech's defense has dominated those concepts, producing a 65% success rate against outside zone and a 71% success rate against the inside zone. Texas Tech has faced a number of mobile quarterbacks on the schedule, limiting Utah's Devin Dampier to 27 yards on 11 carries. If an Avery Johnson explosive was removed in Week 10, the Kansas State QB would have been limited to 52 yards on 12 rushing attempts. And without Martin to help the run on the ground for BYU, there will be limitations to scoring for a Cougars team that ranks 60th in finishing drives. And for those reasons, I like the Red Raiders to take this one on the money line. But if I was betting on this one, I kind of like the under 2 at 52 or better. But you know what? Give me Texas Tech. I think they can upset the BYU Cougars on this one.
I am with our boy Steve on this one. In fact, all three of the Waterboys, we're all taking Texas Tech today. I think Texas Tech is one of the most talented football teams in the entire country. I think that what they can do on offense is really hard to slow down. They're incredibly balanced to me. I think it's very interesting. We were talking about it when Texas Tech very first got rolling this season. I kept asking, is that Graham Harrell back at quarterback at Texas Tech? Because they look like old school Texas Tech to me, and it's fun. college football is fun when Texas Tech is throwing the ball all over the field, tons of yards, lots of firepower on offense. I would not be shocked. BYU is really talented. BYU is really, really talented. Andy Meyer, give me the Cougs. The Fighting Joseph Smiths get it done. Tech wins Big 12 championship rematch. Nothing would make me happier than to see BYU Texas Tech rematch for the Big 12 championship at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Nothing would make me more excited. But all three of the Waterboys this morning, we are taking Texas Tech on this one. All right, Texas A&M at Missouri. Texas A&M at Missouri.
Next up, I'm looking at Texas A&M and Missouri. Texas A&M going on the road to play Missouri this Saturday, November 8th. Missouri's tight end Brett Norfleet will be out for this game, along with Texas A&M missing 4 players. Senior linebacker Scooby Williams, Levon Moss, safeties Brian Anderson and Rashad Tom Johnson Jr. But despite the injuries for A&M, the spread went from being favored, A&M being favored at -4 when this game opened, to now sitting at -6.5 for the Aggies. So it's safe to say Vegas and along with college football fans are favoring the Aggies on this one even more. Now, Missouri does have a solid run game. They're ranked 10th in rushing yards with, on average, 235.5, 24th in points with 35, and 15th in third down percentage at 50. Their defense can play to back them up as well. Missouri's defense, they're ranked 5th in total yards, 5th in passing yards, and 13th in rushing yards, and 5th in third down percentage. But Texas A&M this season just has it figured out on both sides of the ball, and this team has an identity this season to break them well beyond the 8-4 curse that we've seen in recent year. Obviously, they're on track for that. A&M's offense is ranked 19th in total yards, 32nd in passing yards, 23rd in rushing yards, and 11th in points against tougher defenses that they played compared to who Missouri has played this year. And Marcel Reed is still in Heisman talks. And this team, when you watch the Aggies this year, it just seems like that they have a confidence and an identity about them that they are going to win the game. It doesn't matter which team that they're playing. And really, for Bama and Texas A&M this season, they're controlling their own destinies in the SEC and here on out. So if Texas A&M can beat Missouri on the road, you're also going to add more pressure throughout the SEC as well. So give me Texas A&M. I like them to win this one. I just don't think that Missouri can come up with enough to stop them.
Yeah, this is a very interesting game. Missouri, rowdy home atmosphere, but I think that there's one big shining cheat code in this game, and it's Marcel Reed. I think Marcel Reed is going to be playing football on Sunday here very, very soon. I think he's incredibly talented, so much fun to watch. And Texas A&M is a really, really complete football team this year. They're not your normal 8-4 A&M team. Texas A&M fans, they go in every season. This is their season. This is it. We got it figured out. We know it. We got it. They might be right this year. They might be right. Texas A&M might be right. They're 8-0, ranked number 3 in the college football playoff. I mean, Texas A&M is really, really good this year. I'm taking Texas A&M. Our boy Strez is also taking Texas A&M. Would not shock me, though, if Missouri jumps out early in this one. Andy Meyer, upset time. Mizzou shocks a lot of people. Marcel Reed will struggle against that defense and have an untimely turnover. And that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take for Missouri. You're going to have to pressure Marcel Reed. You're going to have to force him into some really tight throwing windows. You're going to have to really contain his scrambling and running ability, and you're going to have to turn him over. That's what's just going to happen for Missouri to be able to pull this one out. All right, very interesting game. Iowa has Oregon coming to town. Number 6, Oregon coming to Iowa.
Next on the slate, we got the Iowa Hawkeyes taking on the Oregon Ducks. You know, it hasn't been pretty for Oregon the past few weeks. More than likely not going to make the Big Ten championship game. But Oregon should be able to handle business in this game. This should be a get-right game for them, to be honest, because I don't trust Iowa's offense to put up enough points against Dan Lanning's defense. Iowa's been good this year on third downs. They're ranked 32nd. They're ranked 37th in rushing yards. Their defense can play, that's for sure. Their D is ranked 3rd in total yards, 7th in passing yards at 136, 10th in rushing yards, allowing 83.9, and 4th in points at 13.1. Oregon's offense is ranked 9th in total yards at 483, 44th in passing yards at 237, 9th in rushing yards at 237, and 6th in points at 41.4, along with third down percentage at 18th is where they're ranked at, and their defense is just better ranked. 4th in total yards, 3rd in passing yards, 116, 31st in rushing yards with 114, and ranked 6th in points, allowing around an average of 13.5. But can Iowa score 20 points? That's the biggest question for me. So for those reasons, and I think this should be a get-right game for the Oregon Ducks, I'm picking Oregon on the money line.
All right, there it is. Steve is picking Oregon. Strez and I today, upset. Iowa. I got Iowa. If Iowa can make this ugly, Andy Meyer is 100% right in this. If Iowa can make this one ugly, cold, wet game, Saturday, evening game, if Iowa can make this one ugly, I think Iowa can pull the upset out today. I believe that there is another loss on Oregon's schedule, and I think it's this one right here. Iowa, they're better on offense. They can actually put some offensive drives together, but this is a day. If you're Iowa, I say keep Oregon's offense off the field. Make it ugly. Make it a snooze fest. Just run the ball. Do everything you can to keep the pace of play as slow as you can. Don't let Oregon's offense get in any sort of rhythm. Limit the pressure that Oregon can bring on the defensive end. Keep this one an ugly, disgusting, muddy, cold football game and win. I think that can happen. I'm picking Iowa. Strez is picking Iowa as well. All right, last game that we're picking of the day. LSU going to Tuscaloosa. Rivalry game. Throw out the rankings, boys.
Next up, I'm looking at the LSU and Alabama game. I mean, LSU is just in a lull right now after they fire their head coach, Brian Kelly. I don't know. It's just odd. How many times do you see a program fire their head coach while they still have a winning record? We'll see who gets that job. I'm pretty sure Whit Weeks is still out on the defense for them. That's been a big blow for the LSU Tigers. And, I've said it before on previous episodes. Bama is the most dangerous whenever they're just keeping their head down. They're going about their business and they're stacking wins. There was a lot of doubt last year about Kalen Dobert. I think he come in to this winning culture, this winning town in Tuscaloosa, and keep this program going. There was doubts about him even at the beginning of the season when they lost their first game to Florida State. But since then, like I said, they just kept their head down. They keep going about their business and their work, and they keep stacking wins. And I just, LSU, obviously, maybe things will turn around next season for them. Hang in there, Tiger fans. I know you're not used to this stuff. But, Ty Simpson, could definitely probably win the Heisman this year. I think still, we're going to be looking at A&M and Bama in the SEC championship game. And I think one of those teams will probably be the one to go the furthest throughout college football playoffs this season out of all the SEC teams. But, yeah, give me Bama on this game, picking them to win over LSU.
Rivalry game. How much does that matter? Sometimes it matters a lot. Steve taking Bama, Strez taking Bama. Listen, I want this game. I want this game for LSU. I want this game for LSU. I'm picking Alabama, but I would love nothing more than to prove just how bad the culture that Brian Kelly had at LSU is, and for LSU to come out and have a get-right game. Can they do it? I don't know. Can the LSU defense slow down Ty Simpson? I don't know. Obviously, you're missing your stud linebacker. How much does that mean? That kind of guy means a lot. That is a very. Oklahoma had Danny Stutzman. When no weeks means your quarterback on the defense is gone. Somebody's going to have to step up today. You're going to have to create some really interesting blitz packages. You're going to have to get after the quarterback. What I'm hoping from LSU is Brian Kelly leaving is just this big for the entire team. That's what I'm hoping happens with LSU for the rest of the season. You got a lot of guys that are either playing to get some draft stock for the NFL draft, or maybe some guys that are playing really hard to decide, am I transferring or am I going to wait to see who LSU brings in? So there could be some guys playing outside of themselves today and really stepping up. It's a rivalry game. These two fan bases hate each other, rightfully so. I get it. All bets are off in this game to me. Now, I could say that, and Alabama goes out there and wins by 30. I don't know. But Ty Simpson is probably the best quarterback in the SEC right now. Alabama obviously ranked really high in the college football playoff, which is crazy considering the start to the season that Alabama had. The loss to Florida State, the issues they had at the end of last season, a lot of the things that had Alabama fans calling for the firing of Kellen DeBoer, all that talk is over. Kellen DeBoer is the guy at Alabama. I think he's going to be there a long, long time. I think Alabama is in great position. They are 7-1 this year, and but the SEC is very interesting. Ole Miss at 8-1, Georgia at 7-1, Alabama at 7-1, A&M at 8-0. Texas 7-2, Oklahoma 7-2. Missouri at 6-2, Tennessee at 6-3. SEC is very interesting this year. But I am taking Alabama in this one. But wouldn't be shocked. In fact, I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping wrong. For my friends and all of the people that I love and care about down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in the country. I really hope that you guys go into Tuscaloosa and shock the world. This year for the SEC, I just am rooting for mass hysteria and craziness. Every time there is an upset, it just makes the whole SEC thing even more interesting. So there you go. There are our games for today. Just a real quick reminder, Georgia at Mississippi State, first game this morning. Steve picking Mississippi State. I've got Georgia, so does Strez. BYU at Texas Tech. All three of us taking Tech. Texas A&M at Missouri. We're all three taking A&M. Can Missouri keep that one close? We will find out. Oregon at Iowa. Steve taking Oregon. Myself and Strez picking Iowa in the upset. LSU at number 4, Alabama. All three of us taking Alabama. I'm going with my head there. My heart hopes that LSU comes out and punches Alabama right in the mouth, and we just get more college football craziness in the SEC. There is your games for the day. This is going to be a wild, wild college football Saturday. This is a We're calling this one Week 11 make or break. We got our first rankings out for the college football playoff. This is a make or break week for a lot of teams if you want to stay in the college football hunt. Oregon, they have got to win today. Oregon needs to win today. BYU, if they drop this one, they could go to 8-1. Texas Tech wins today. They go to 9-1. The Big 12 gets really, really interesting. It's a make or break Week 11 college football Saturday. All right, if you haven't, make sure that you follow us on social media. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't hit that subscribe, do it, please. If you're watching this on X and you haven't hit that follow, I would appreciate it very, very much. And I want to give a big shout out to Better, official sponsors of the Waterboys college football pregame show. Download the Better app, BETR. Better is the first real micro play app. So instead of waiting for the whole game, you can lock in a play on every drive, every pitch, every moment. Super simple, no messy menus. Just swipe, make your pick, and you're in. Don't just watch the games this weekend. Live it, play it better. Download Better now and use code WASH. WASHED, WASHED. That's code WASH. Download Better and use code WASHED. And we would appreciate it very, very much. Week 11, make or break. Have a fantastic college football Saturday. We'll be back next Saturday, 8 a.m. Central. All three boys will be in the house picking another wild week of college football games. And we got some brand new content coming out on YouTube this week. If you haven't seen yet, Indiana fans are very, very upset with us. So if you want something really fun to do this morning, just go look at the comments on our last two videos talking about Indiana. It's wild. It's wild. Have a fantastic Saturday.